So you guys want to hear what Justin Trudeau, our prime minister, said about migrants that are pouring into the country? Listen to this.
You know, I was at the UN just last week where I met with a number of world leaders and we talked about many things, but behind their questions was usually one simple question for a Canadian prime minister, which is, so how exactly do you do it in Canada? How do you make sure that you're maintaining such an incredibly warm and welcoming and prosperous society? A society where people of varying religions, backgrounds, ethnicities, creeds, stories, languages, not just come together to be neighbors, but thrive and grow together in an incredible way. Well, one of the parts of our answers is that we don't ask people to check their identities at the door when they come in. We want to make sure we continue to celebrate the language, the culture, the identity, and all the diverse richness that everyone who comes to Canada adds to Canada.
So he just stated that we don't have to check identities of people coming into Canada. Am I wrong about this, or that's what I'm hearing? He's stating that we don't check the identities of people illegally coming into the country, storming in. We don't need to check their IDs. We don't need any verification, no identity, not even a name of the people that are pouring in to our communities. As communities are struggling to fiscally hold these people that we have no account for. But Justin Trudeau is making the case because it adds to our diversity. It adds to the warmthness of like he's doing a business speech here. This is how you speak to investors. This is not how you speak to regular people. This is how you speak to a room full of investors. Canada is such a warm, heartfelt place. We're so diverse. We're bringing people in. We're so encouraging. We're thriving. Thriving. Tell that to the people that are still on the streets for your 8 years of incompetence. Tell that to the communities that are dealing with tent cities among tent cities. Deal that with the people that are working endlessly just to make ends meet. They're trying to pay a grocery bill. They're trying to feed their kids, trying to keep a roof over their head. Saying we're thriving. I can't. Listen to this. Listen to that again.
But thrive and grow together in an incredible way. Well, one of the parts of our answers is that we don't ask people to check their identities at the door when they come in. We want to make sure we
don't check identities for people invading the country. Well, funny how there's a laundry list of places that do need identification for you to do anything. You need identification to apply for a driver's license. You need identification to walk into a nightclub. You need identification to have a drink. You need identification to go to a tanning salon. You need identification to get a tattoo. And I found out just recently, because I had to stop at a local Walmart here to get spray paint. So I was restoring a dresser. They asked for ID for spray paint. That's right. Spray paint. And on top of all that, let's not forget, this is the same maniac who asked for vaccine passports. Verified identification that you are compliant to medical tyranny. To walk into any business. To get applications to anywhere. And this is the same malice man that's stating to this group full of people, hey, we're so welcoming. We don't even want identifications to the people that are pouring into this country. The illegal immigrants that are pouring into this country. Not by the couple, not by a few families, but by the thousands. He's even stated that he wants 500,000 at one point. 500,000 newcomers that we apparently don't need any identification for. All these newcomers that seem to be military-aged men. Have you ever noticed? Not so many families, but military-aged men. Oh, because they're going to take over our jobs, right? They're going to help, keep Tim Hortons afloat so they can work barely minimum wage. Oh, they're going to, join our military because of lack of recruitment. They're going to take over the small towns of Canada because the small towns of Canada don't seem more populated enough. And then how are those communities supposed to help and serve these people when they can barely help and serve the people that are currently living there? That's what we showed with Springfield, Ohio. That they don't have the resources to meet the needs of these newcomers. Just like Canada does not have the means to deal with these people. They need new homes. We need hundreds of thousands of new homes to shelter people. We need to grow business opportunity. We need a huge, better economy. What is our economy doing now? Nothing. Not a damn thing. And he has the absolute, oh my God, that's just insane. Well, here's also a member of his cabinet here discussing why you don't need IDs to walk into the border, apparently. Listen to this.
What I did find interesting, though, Minister, is that in 2018, your government removed the requirement for police background checks, are officially called police clearance certificates from the country of origin, from countries like Pakistan, and Pakistan ultimately is a bit of a high-risk country, to say the least, so it is puzzling that that was done in 2018. This security check was removed, and now we know a student visa from Pakistan gate entry into Canada. Have you reinstated this security requirement, for example? That is an easy step that you could have taken by now.
Again, currently, you know that this individual was an asylum seeker. You know, again, that there are differences with respect to different requirements for and the reliability of police certificates at different stages. They vary in
excuse
their
me,
quality.
sorry, I may have
and
misspoke, but I'm talking about the
assessment.
student visa from Pakistan, the latest alleged terrorist, not the son, but the student visa from Pakistan.
Again, and this may be within or not within the scope of this discussion, Mr. Chair. Again, the person, the latest alleged individual, came in as a student from Pakistan.
Correct.
Again, the details that you have in your chronologies are the ones that I'm at liberty to speak to at this time.
Thank you, Minister. But I'm asking specifically about how in
So his excuse of a Pakistani on a student visa that is some related to terrorism, his defense is, well, he came in as a student. And this is the thing about a lot of college campuses, university campuses, because that's the excuse that they're giving now. Oh, a lot of these people are coming here as students. They're coming here to educate through our universities and colleges, and they're paying a bunch of money for it. Well, that's kind of the corruption angle of another corruption angle of why the mass immigration. Not only are they working cheap at places like Tim Hortons because they're not paying them a decent wage and restricting other workers from actually working there, but also that institutions, big name universities, college campuses across Canada are purposely pouring these people in because they could pay huge amounts of money to be a student at these facilities. They could pay the international fees. Those college campuses and universities get a huge lump sum of tuition being poured in. And all of a sudden, now these students that are done with school, where are they going to go now? Where are they going to go now? Now a lot of these people on student visas that were overseas are protesting. They're protesting at the fact that they came here for school and there's nothing available for them. There's nothing available for the foreign workers that we brought in purposely. Talk about the most ironic twist about this. And his excuse is, well, you started off as a student, and that's all I could say. So even with a student, you can't have an ID check. You can't have a background. Even in college campuses, you have to have a student card at least. If you want OHIP, if you want, the Ontario healthcare services, you need an OHIP card. Why is it so devastating that we ask for identification or a background check for people that are coming into this country? It baffles me.
2018, your government removed the requirement for police clearance certificates, ultimately police background checks from the country of origin, from countries like Pakistan. Now we have a student visa holder from Pakistan who did not receive the police, assuming he did not receive the police clearance certificate, unless you can correct me, but that requirement was removed in 2018. So there was a security check.
So she's even stating that this guy who started off as a student potentially did not even qualify under police check. But they granted him anyway because they removed that police check. And why would that be? Why would our government deliberately bring in the worst of the worst? And you notice how that when they mention about immigration, they don't specifically comes from certain areas, if you noticed. And that's not, being race baiting or being racist or bigoted about this. But if we really did care about encouraging newcomers to come to this country, why are we not reaching out to people in other territories? Why are we not reaching out to, people of the UK, people in European nations, the Scandinavian countries? Why are we not reaching out to people in Latin America? Why does it only seem to be certain areas that we're pulling these people in and exploiting them the same way our government is exploiting us? And this is what I've been saying the whole time. I'm not blaming the immigrant themselves because they're part of an exploitation done by the same people that are exploiting us. We're one of the same. And the only reason your job has been taken away is because the corporatists, the capitalists, yanked your job away from you to give it to some other sucker who also is desperate for work. And they're dangling a carrot in front of their nose saying, hey, you're going to work cheap. You're not going to get benefits. You're not going to get pension. You're not going to get vacation time. You're going to work endlessly for me for basically slave labor. So much so that the UN called it out. The UN made an article calling out Canada in their modern day take of slavery because of this. And now you're telling me that they can't even, they won't even do identification checks. They won't even do police checks. No background research whatsoever. We're just going to storm these people. That's called an invasion. When you have strangers, complete strangers, storming into the country, that's called an invasion. You wouldn't want a stranger storming into your house. That'd be called trespassing. Well, imagine that on a larger scale. Imagine that the government is purposely doing this too.
Check removed. That requirement was removed in 2018 from Pakistan for student visa holders. Now we have a situation where your government's brought in a student visa holder from Pakistan who's alleged to be a terrorist. He was on his way to Brooklyn, New York to massacre Jews. And there was a situation where there could have been an additional level of screening that your government removed in 2018. So have you reinstated the security requirement? I'm hearing that you have not done that. I do feel that that's something quite easy that you could do that could provide another layer of security so this doesn't happen again.
Again, we rely on
Is that not reasonable?
We rely on our security partners to advise us as to the risk profile to take with respect to these
It's just a common sense approach, though, is it not?
Again, you're assuming the reliability and the validity of police certificates.
I appreciate that, but for permanent residents
a lot more
from permanent
comprehensive.
residents from
No, it's a lot more comprehensive than that. Really, it's more comprehensive that we can't do a police check on someone. Again, think of all the reasons you would have to do a police check. If you want to volunteer at a school and deal with kids, you need a police check. If you want to work in an animal shelter, you need to do a police check. If you want to rent an apartment somewhere, they're going to do a police check. Even applying for a job, they do a criminal background check. It's amazing what they will ask IDs for and clarifications on so many things. But apparently coming into the country illegally, it's no big deal. It's no big deal. Oh, there's too much. It's very comprehensive on why we're doing this. And something tells me, which I'm just spewing this out, don't verify on this, but something tells me that the reason they allowed a supposed terrorist, I don't know who this guy is, I don't know what the background story or what this involvement is. This is just from what I'm imagining, that somewhere down the line, I feel like AIPAC had a part in this. I feel like that. I feel like there was some sort of disturbing ploy that they allowed this student on a student visa to come into the country who was on his way to Brooklyn to massacre a bunch of Jewish citizens in New York. Something tells me there's far greater explanation than just lonesome guy wants to be a terrorist. And usually 9 times out of 10 it is. But they will never explain that to you. They're never going to explain what this actually entails. If you bother to ask for an explanation, you're considered a racist, you're considered bigoted, you're considered xenophobic, you're considered a version of Hitler for criticizing the immigration policy. And again, I'm not against immigration. Everybody came from a different part of the world and immigrated to different parts of the world. We wouldn't be where we are without immigration. And I feel bad for a lot of these people. I feel bad for a lot of these families that came from war-torn areas that are just completely being exploited through all of this. That's what all this is about. It's all exploitation. It's all human trafficking that they're doing to these people. And you can't even hold the people responsible accountable because they don't have an answer. They don't bother to have an answer. And they will never, ever tell you the real reason behind it. And my judgment is, from simple observations, is corporations want cheap labor. They want reverse outsourcing. So instead of companies going over there to their territory to manufacture and build readily goods on cheap back labor, they're going to bring those people here. And that's why the representative of the UN called it modern day exploitation of slavery. Here in Canada, as Justin Trudeau is saying how great it is, striving. We're striving as a nation. We're just generous and welcoming people with open arms. New slaves every day. And these people, these people don't hold anything accountable to it. The fact that they won't even check IDs like that is an invasion. And that's why we need to actually have some sort of measure to put action in. Again, if you need an ID to walk into a nightclub or have a drink or apply for things, if you need identification and a background check for most mundane tasks, the least we should be doing is having that for people coming into the country. That's the least we could be doing right now. And they won't even do that.